that we got to grind out here. Miami Dolphins 45, Washington Commanders 15. Dolphins moved to 9-3, now tied with the Ravens for the best record in the AFC. We'll see what happens with Jacksonville tonight.
Are they banking the number one seed, technically? I think
Dolphins, Ravens, and Jags, none of those teams have played each other yet.
I think Miami jumped back into the one seed.
I don't know what the tiebreaker is going to look like there. But yeah, Miami. The AFC playoff picture could go through Miami as of right now. 45-15 for much of the season, the without. The home-away splits for the Dolphins were the story. But it might just be the good-bad team splits because Miami puts up a huge number on the road, dominated right from the get-go. Tyreek Hill, 5 catches for 157. Just a beatdown by the Dolphins here.
Yeah, I mean, we speculated what the removal of Jack Del Rio would do to this defense. Like, would it improve them? Because there's some talented players on that Washington defense, and they've generally been playing below the standard that they're capable of in periods.
So what did it do?
It didn't do anything. It was like Washington had never seen Tyreek Hill before, right? And they went into this game with a game plan that was sort of centered around Tyreek Hill was just an abstract construct. They'd never seen him before. And this game was, the Dallas Thanksgiving game in '98 where Randy Moss had that 3 for $165 and 3 touchdowns or whatever it was, right? And it's like, those are the games that happen the first time you see a guy like that. Because it's like, you've only ever seen Randy Moss in theory, right? So you have a whole game plan that's just normal, or like maybe a couple of wrinkles here or there to take care of a Randy Moss. And then you realize once you're playing him live, none of this works. Like everything we just did, bin it. All of it, junk it, because we now need to construct an entire game plan on the fly strictly around stopping this guy because he's different. Tyreek Hill is like that. And Washington played Tyreek Hill like 2 years ago, and even if they hadn't, he's been in the league like a decade. You should have seen this by now. Instead, it's like, who is this guy? His first touchdown was one-on-one against a safety in the slot. What are we doing?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Sorry, I got to let you cook. Sorry.
You can't. I mean, one-on-one against a safety in the slot with no help over the top. What is that?
It was just a standard cover one, and the free safety was leaning to the other side of the field.
Yes.
And so Tyreek was like, I haven't seen this since 2017. I'm just going to run deep.
I haven't seen this since rookie year.
Yeah. That part I don't understand. Because, like, even if you're a fan and you're playing, like when you're playing the Chiefs as a fan and you're watching Tyreek Hill, or you're playing the Dolphins and you're the opposing fan, you're like, man, as a fan you're watching where Tyreek is. As just an observer of the game, you're watching where Tyreek Hill is. And you know that the defense, part of the reason why he's so good is because, okay, you can't cover him. And then he does take 2 defenders very often. It opens things up for other people. Because you're like, hey, when he's inside in the slot, if he runs the over route, we can't cover him. If he runs deep, we can't cover him. So you have to put extra defenders there. And Washington did the opposite. It didn't work. But so 2 long touchdowns. One's one-on-one on cover one. The second one, he made a nice adjustment in midair. I think after the game, I don't know if it was Tua or Tyreek said he ran the wrong route. So this is how good he is. He ran by the defender, may have run the wrong route, mid-flight, turned it into the corner route that he was supposed to run, went and caught the ball and ran behind, got behind the defense for his second long touchdown. So he has a 78-yarder, and what was the other one? Did I lose it? 60. A 78 and a 60. The only thing screwing up his average is they kept throwing him screen passes into traffic, where screwed up his yards per reception. So 5 catches for $157 and 2 scores. Tua, really nice job throwing to space. I mean, that's when this Miami offense is cooking. It's like you get the deep ball here and there. Then there's other passes where Tua is just so anticipatory, throwing the ball into space. He had a few of those nice ones as well. And then, of course, Raheem Mostert gets his 16th touchdown of the year on the ground. Devin Achane gets into the end zone twice as well. Really nice little 4-yard run. Miami was unstoppable on the ground, through the air, and they dominated.
Yeah. Just suicidal defense by Washington. Absolutely insane. Tua deserves credit as well. It's an interesting mix because, so in this weird year of there's no MVP, like you can construct an argument for like 10 players, right? Tyreek Hill on his way to like 2,000 yards, the first receiver to ever get there. He's well on track at this point. He's on track for like 2,100 at this stage. He's going to have an argument, and it's not a bad one. But also, anytime you've got a wide receiver having an incredible season, you have the inevitable problem of, well, the quarterback is throwing him the ball, and the quarterback generally is a more important player in an offense. So Tua has a case, right? And I think this happens almost all the time. When you have an amazing QB wide receiver connection, they're both bringing something to the table. Like, it's virtually impossible for a wide receiver to make a quarterback. You know, there's nothing this guy's bringing to the table, just putting the ball in the air and I'll go make it happen. For the second time this show, when Randy Moss and Dante Culpepper were so amazing, like if you look at Moss's highlight reel, the number of plays where Culpepper drops it like into a bucket 55 yards downfield is ridiculous. If Moss doesn't have Culpepper for that period of his career, his numbers probably aren't as good. Now we saw right at the start, Randall Cunningham, like he was pretty QB proof, but it's different if he doesn't have Culpepper. Tua is so good at doing that Chad Pennington thing of putting the ball in the air deep, like immediately. He gets, his average time to throw is so incredibly low, in addition to his average depth of target being very high, because he just knows that the guy's going to be open and just puts it in the air and lets him run underneath it. Both of those deep passes yesterday, the ball was in the air before Tyreek Hill was past the guy, right? He knew that he would be past the guy, because like he's got the look. He's like, well, it's one-on-one. It's like the Alex Smith year, right? When in 2013 or whatever it was, when Tyreek Hill 2017, when Tyreek Hill rocks up, and it was just instant. If he's one-on-one on the outside, I'm putting the ball in the air. It'll be a deep reception. That's all Tua's doing. Like, I got one-on-one, drop back, put the ball in the air, and then Tyreek Hill can run under it and go get it. And as long as I haven't underthrown it, it's a big play.
Yeah, a couple things there real quick. I mean, when you're talking about Tyreek Hill for MVP, I don't hate it at all. That's one where I would go away from, say, like WAR numbers and everything. This would be the argument, because Tua fans would say, well, you never discounted Mahomes or a Brady or a Rodgers or whoever when they had great weapons, right? But with Tyreek Hill, we've now seen him lead Alex Smith to having the most deep passing yards in a season for 2017. We know that Mahomes is still pretty great, regardless of Tyreek Hill. But when you add this year's numbers, now last year Mahomes was great without Tyreek Hill, but when you add this year's numbers into it, there's going to be some without splits in there where Mahomes' production is taking a hit. And it might be unfair to Tua, but we only saw 2 years of Tua without Tyreek Hill, and he was averaging like 6.3 yards per attempt or whatever it was. I mean, it's like night and day. So the argument for Tyreek Hill is kind of like this multiple years worth of evidence that he is a QB elevator. There's always confounding factors. You're right. I mean, Tua is outstanding at fitting what Tyreek Hill is doing, not just because he throws it far, but like you said, he throws it early. Mike McDaniel came in as well, put them in position to succeed. But yeah, I don't hate the Tyreek Hill argument here. I will say on the Randy Moss thing, looking back at his career, Jeff George, Randall Cunningham, Dante Culpepper, maybe not the best quarterbacks, but maybe three really good quarterbacks for Randy Moss, and then Brady. Yeah. All guys that could get him the ball down the field at least. So we got to see Moss with quarterbacks that could play to his skill set at least.
Yeah, I mean, you forget the Raiders, Randy Moss, and the end.
Andrew Walter.
Yeah, and the ass end of his career. But for the good parts of his career, the only kind of quarterback that didn't really fit Randy Moss was Brad Johnson, right? And even then, he was so good right away that he managed to turn a bunch of terrible Brad Johnson underthrows into elite, big plays.
One more thing I want to highlight here. Sam Howell threw a pick six, Andrew Van Ginkel. I'm not sure how much to actually blame Sam Howell on this one. It was a quick screen. It's a catch and throw type of thing. Maybe the alignment. Yeah, he should have known from pre-snap alignment not to throw this thing. But Van Ginkel normally is supposed to be cut by the right tackle there, and just makes a great play. Reads it, takes it to the house. Van Ginkel had a big game. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Week probably in the AFC because he had an interception for a touchdown. He had a sack.
How could you possibly predict that at this point in time?
Oh, because he had the stats.
I see.
I mean, we'll have him with a really good grade too. But anytime you have a pick six and a sack, I mean, pretty tough to overcome for defensive player. So they'll probably have offensive and defensive player of the week this week in the AFC, off the top of my head. Do they do AFC, NFC? Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Forgot for a minute here. All right. Anything else? That's it on those games.
Yeah. I mean, it was a strange game from Washington's offensive point of view. Like they got blitzed out of the gate very quickly. They were already down 10 when he threw that pick six to Van Ginkel. And then they kind of clawed back briefly into it and then just couldn't stop the Dolphins at any point, and that dissipated pretty quickly.